Welcome back, everyone, to the LJL officially unofficial broadcast, and we are into our very last game of the day. As I always said, we now have the worst team in the league, Detention FocusMe, who were put there by the previous worst team in the league, Axis, which is going to sting all the more, with their final chance to break their losing streak to start off the summer up against Burning Core. Again, for anyone who didn't catch that previous game, we had no expectation Axis would do as well as they did. Now, I don't know. I would again say Burning Core shouldn't stand a chance, but apparently it's fair game for anybody.
Yeah, you never know with DFM. This can also be a little bit of an unlocking factor, maybe. Everyone just throwing away everything and just saying, okay, we play solo queue now. Away with all the tactics, away with all the strategy. We're just going to use our hands to overcome this noob team on the other side because we're just better players. It can actually happen sometime if a very good team that performs well in scrims and so on just doesn't show up on stage. Maybe something like this, some tilter can actually reset their mentality as well. So I wouldn't write DFM off, even though I said they're the worst team in the league. They are factually at this point 0-3, right? Okay.
You're
But
technically correct.
yeah. But yeah, I think they're still the favorites coming in here, even though Burning Core looked quite strong in the early stages of the game earlier today. They fell short, and even though Ray Farkey started off with 5-0 or 6-0 even Nocturne something, they were not able to close out the game, so they are looking at an 0-2 themselves. Either team is going to be very, very unhappy losing this game.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about Ray Farkey once we've seen what they're going to get to do here. So that's the Burning Core top laner who definitely felt like they were the main carry force, particularly last week against Crest game as well. I believe we have the pick and ban ready to go as Burning Core hope to do the same that their brothers in arms, the Axis squad, were able to do and take down DFM to put them into position to end their second week 0-4. I'm ready. I am now ready for that to happen.
Yeah, I have to admit I'm not really ready either. 0-4 is really rough, especially in an 8-team region. 0-4 is way worse than a 10-league region, right? Because you only play, I think it's 14 actually, right? It's the same amount as in the VCS, so 14 best of ones. So 4 losses already means the best you can do if you win every single game is 10-4, which usually is not enough to get first place. And then you probably lose the odd game here or there, maybe even more than just the odd game, and you are already struggling to get to playoffs. So I think DFM really wants to finish at least this week with a win and look a little bit better and maybe recover over the next week to be a contender again.
Let's quickly rip through those bans. So for DFM, they've gone off the shields. For Burning Core, they've gone off the assassin. Sounds a little bit familiar. But we are seeing in here, which could potentially be for Evie, is a Renekton being slammed in first pick. You know, Evie did not perform on the Gragas before. But once they got onto the more carry Nocturne, or in this case Renekton, it was a whole different story.
Yeah, and the Renekton can always be flexed into mid lane as well, right? You can either flex the laner actually in the mid lane, Abby can go over there, or you can just give the Renekton to Arya. That is possible as well. So a lot of flexibility on this pick in terms of position and player that is going to pilot the champion as well. I like the answer from Burning Core as well. I'm a little bit concerned that no one is going to go for Xin Zhao so far. Very strong champion. Was first pick yesterday in LEC, for example, so a little surprising to me that we don't see any kind of early priority on that champion. To be fair though, 2 of the shielders that really enable him are banned away. So instead we're going to see Renekton Rumble again. Tried and true, very easy composition to work with. A lot of AoE, a lot of burst, so it's always good to start there.
Okay, so we're going to try and work on a kind of similar strategy to before. Gang back on that Leona, get those solar flares up, get the combo together with the equalizer so they cannot get away. For Burning Core, they have got a chance to make an answer to what DFM are putting out here and maybe try and keep their team safe from all of that big AoE.
And now, I think DFM fans are actually looking at this a little bit apprehensive, looking at Gang's performance from before. It's pretty funny to me that our lovely co-caster they were actually preparing us for this one to step in and give us all the information to work with. Just as information for gang, they just put there a Wikipedia link to the Return of the King. So there are a lot of expectations on this player, I can safely say. Even though I don't really know much about him, a lot of people think he was the best support before, so it's hard to see him struggle this much.
All right, so what have we got on the ban bench for Burning Core? They've got their own AD carry, so they're going to go after the pull of it themselves. So Ezreal, of course, out has been picked. Tristana gone as well as... looks like we won't be seeing Ray Farkey on the Omega level power of the Darius. Which is kind of interesting, because the Burning Core did have the chance to pick up that Darius if they wanted it.
Yeah, early Darius is really, really daunting. So I don't think you really want to go for that. It's more of a counter pick there, especially on red side, maybe an R5 Darius. So I can see why you would get rid of that, the possibility of the counter pick, just to be safe. He had an insane performance, 8-0 last week against whoever they played. Let me check. Crest Gaming Act, of course. But 2 ADCs banned for DFM. Utapon, he's the most tenured ADC on any team in the world, I believe. The only player that has been on the same team longer than he has is Faker, so he knows all the ADCs. He can definitely work his way around these bans. There's stuff like Zarya comes to mind, Kai'Sa comes to mind, even though maybe not the greatest into Braum. But yeah, Kai'Sa, Zarya is where I would look at. Maybe even a Jinx, if you really want to go for that one.
Okay, well, it looks like Guerriero is up for a fight with Arya. We're going to bring the LeBlanc out into the mid lane. As we're still going to see that AD carry. Of course, we haven't even talked about Kalista as of yet. Still a very, very powerful option with the Leona.
Well, there we go, Kai'Sa. That's what we expected. I think, yeah, Kalista into Braum sounds pretty rough to me. He slows you down so much. It's very hard to fight on his ultimate. You don't really want to deal with that one. He can block the E as well, so Kai'Sa makes sense to me. It's still pretty rough in bot lane, but maybe you can do a little bit more to dodge away from the LeBlanc, for example, and maybe threaten a dive on the Ezreal later on as well. Follow up on the gang engages, which of course was one of the huge problems in the game before. And we still do not know where the Renekton is going, because this Viego could go top mid, or maybe even jungle as well, so very flexible draft, very good to see. And Burning Core now needs to counterpick top lane without actually knowing what is waiting for them over there. So safe pick like Gangplank actually makes a lot of sense to me here.
Okay, we're going to get a little bit of fight on our hands as Ray Farkey will get the chance to go face to face with Ebby up in this top lane. Ray Farkey, we've seen them in games before. They may not be on the Darius, but they certainly are going to be on a high impact top laner in the Wukong.
Oh, it's a risky matchup, but I like it. I like it. The composition as a whole doesn't really make too much sense to me. We can talk about that in detail in game, but the pick in itself, it's very risky. It's very fight heavy, as you said before. If you bring it ahead, especially into the Viego instead of the Renekton, most likely, can certainly run away with the game and even threaten all of the other champions around them. Super strong into AD champions as a whole later on, almost unkillable there. So if you shut down the Rumble, no one is going to touch the Wukong. So overall, very risky, high risk, high reward champion for Ray Farkey, and that's his playstyle as a whole, right? Just very streaky player with high highs and low lows.
Yeah, I mean, once has done a lot of work before to get Ray Farkey up and running. But this, again, is the opportunity for Burning Core to follow suit with Axis and take a win away from Detention FocusMe, who presumably are at their most vulnerable right now. They've lost 3 games in a row. If there's ever a chance to catch DFM at their most tilted, it's in this game here.
Oh yeah, it is. And I've heard some storylines about the top laners. Abby, of course, known as the best top laner. Not only known, I think he has certainly earned his name as the best top laner in this league. 7 titles, so many dominant performances, even on the international stage. On the other side, Ray Farkey coming in with super impressive performances and kind of the second coming of Abby and trying to challenge him. And when is the better time to challenge him than now? Now, today, can actually show us that he might be the best top laner and bring Burning Core to a 2-2 score as well. pushing DFM down to an 0-4 start. Unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, we're in such a strange scenario here. With Sengoku, 1-3 right now. Certainly these first 2 weeks of the season have been truly fascinating to see come together. DFM, one last chance to get the win here. I guess it feels a little unfair. This is still a DFM team, as you said before, who've been within grasping distance of now multiple games so far this season, but haven't been able to do it. What kind of odds are you giving a Burning Core being able to pull it off for themselves and get that big win?
Wow. Let's wait for the AI to solve that one. I don't know. I really don't like the composition, I have to say. I think it's very disconnected. I don't really see where they're trying to go here. We have a LeBlanc, so an assassin in the mid lane that's trying to go for pigs later on, maybe for side laning as well. And then an Ezreal with that likes to team fight, and with long team fights, which is really not what LeBlanc likes to do. And the top lane, we have an engage tool with a defensive support, so there's anti-synergy there as well. And then Elisen in there, who is kind of between Wukong and LeBlanc from what he wants to do. So, yeah, I really don't like their synergy in team fights. They have to kind of be a win lane, win game kind of composition here, with a lot of action coming from the jungle. So I'd say pretty good odds for DFM to win this game just off compositional advantages.
Right now, Guerriero is doing a pretty good job of controlling the mid lane. I'm not denying too much in the way of CS. I'm kind of interested to go into while we've got the chance. Oh no! They've counter juggled themselves! Oh,
that's a tilter. Oh, if you thought Steel recovered well from the last game and is not tilted, now he is tilted. He tilted himself. Oh no, that is horrible.
Oh no, tilting us, tilting themselves. Ray Farkey and Evie, we were looking forward to this brawl up in the top side. Farkey, there's no more definitive way to say, okay, you got me, I cannot go 1v1 with you, than to be forced to flash away.
Level 2 1v1, that does not go in favor. Oh, wow, that is a huge advantage just from pick and ban. So that's bigger than the center in the wrong position in the first game. Wow. So the bot really agreeing with me here on my assessment. I really don't like the composition for Burning Core. Maybe they can show us what it's supposed to do. I really don't understand what they're trying to accomplish here. But yeah, the top lane, usually 80 against 80 matchup. The Wukong always wins extended fights because of his passive, stacking up the armor, the HP region. But this time around, he was forced to flash, forced to TP as well. So now it's prime time to strike from Steel. Sadly, he's on the wrong side of the map, so he's not really in position to punish that one. And Evie can be pretty unhappy with this one. On the other end, though, he can also just chill on the tower, wait for his jungler for a little bit later, because the flash is not going to go away, or the opposite of away. It's not going to come back. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yes, it does mean that we're delayed on the. Well, I suppose to be fair, we've got our answer from the early game as to who's the better top laner right now. So yeah, until Ray Farkey's flash comes up, they're certainly not gonna be wanting to get into a do or die situation. Steel comes back face to face with their mistake from before. It's like what passes say, "Oh, it's you. I didn't expect to see you here." Well, never mind. Just have to carry on and get a little bit less farmers. Once we'll get
actually a deliberate plan to counter tilt once, right? Because he's going to have delay timers, respawn timers on this camp. So he's going to walk through the topside vision, and the enemy team is going to say, wait, he skipped his raptors. We can invade his raptors. Then they invade his raptors, want to punish him. There are no raptors, because he effed that one up. So it's a counter tilt move. You're going to see.
TP coming in to try and preserve the cannon minion as Arya. Interesting play there. They've got support from Gang, so looks like DFM has some, or still have some designs on this top side here. But Yutapon has stayed down bottom, and it doesn't look like
party.
Yeah, they're not going to go for a tower dive. They're not going to get anything.
Yeah, TP for TP. It was try to push him off the wave with the TP from Arya, but then the counter TP came in from Guerriero, so both mid laners actually forced the TP to help their top laners. This is interesting graphics, so let's see their early routes as we have Gang still on the top side.
Yes, we may need to
Why?
hold off on discussing jungle routes because we've got a jungler getting ripped to pieces as once is getting ticked away, but not quite enough damage there to finish off the job. This will mean that Ray Farkey will have to abandon ship as DFM's plans may not have been put off entirely, but just delayed.
Okay, now we have to look at bot lane. How do they deal with this extended time into the 2v1 situation? So far, no advantage whatsoever. They haven't been able to punish Utapon, and that is huge for the side of Gang and DFM as a whole, because Gang spent so much time in the top lane. He's only level 3. You can guess how much time he spent there, just walking around looking for his opportunity. They finally get the flash from once. Honestly, just for a flash, I'd say my initial reaction would be not worth it. But then looking at bot lane, for some reason, Utapon on one of the lowest range AD carries is actually able to farm evenly against the Braum Asriel 2v1. So maybe a missed opportunity there for the Burning Core bot lane. They were unsure where Gang was going. And once again, they're unsure where Gang is. And once there's no flash, mind you.
Flash forward for Gang. They're looking to make up for the previous game, as Proud does have their escape route stolen, but DFM, they've got the numbers, and they've certainly managed to bring their team to the play ahead of Burning Core, who so far seem like they've been outmaneuvered more than a few times already, even this early in the game.
Oh, you hate to see that. But yeah, very, very nice execution and coordination with DFM, using their strong lanes, their independent lanes in bot lane, and just the overall pressure created by Abby and by Arya to move into the enemy jungle over and over again. It's a 5 CS lead for LeBlanc, but she hasn't been able to do anything, so even though the Renekton constantly pushed on the tower, it's actually exerting pressure and helping his jungler overcome the early mishap, I'm going to call it. This gank is not going to succeed. Way too many minions, no way to land the chain. Gary just here to help Farkey get to level 6 and push out the wave.
Yes, unfortunately there's no cycle there to follow up. You see how far ahead Evie is. 2 levels over... how far Evie is over Ray Farkey. 2 levels ahead, so ult into no ult, no way through. And we're starting to see DFM gathering confidence, though there is no real gold difference between the two teams. DFM, they feel like they're in the driver's seat when it comes to what happens and when.
It feels like the gold difference is upon us. It's going to come sooner or later, because it's such a dominant early game, but it hasn't really converted into a gold lead. A little bit sad that Evie didn't use this opportunity to try and freeze his lane. Instead, he's going to go for a recall and giving all the pressure and early priority over to DFM on the top side to secure the first objective trade. But Burning Core actually getting away with something I don't think they should have gotten away with. Getting this dragon trade for... Oh, pretty close, pretty close. That would have been really good for them in the end. It's a dragon for Herald trade. Most of the time advantageous for the Herald team because you get early gold, can really accelerate the early tower punish, especially with already winning lanes in top lane, for example. So usually that's quite a nice start for DFM. You can see Utapon still able to push Ezreal under tower. And overall, yeah, DFM, it doesn't really reflect on the gold difference too much, but they are looking like the dominant team here. And they definitely feel like they're dominating the lane. The other way. The whole map, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it seems to be DFM's world right now as Burning Core. We saw before that they had a lot of success with getting Ray Farkey ahead. Now that just hasn't happened. We've seen that, even when Gary Arrow has gone up to try and force out some kind of play, or at least to try and release some of that pressure, it has led to nothing. But the goal lead is still 300, no matter how well DFM are playing the map. We've yet to see it pay off majorly. No first tower, no first blood.
We know it's going to come. Kang is only level 4. He's so far behind because he constantly roamed up. You want to get to level 6 at least for the big fight for maybe the second dragon, so he should stay put in his lane a little bit longer and maybe try to push here. Set up a little bit of the Herald contest. Oh, look at these two. They could have used the Herald here to get 3 plates in mid lane, but instead they're going to move into top side. They really want to snowball off the top lane lead. Top lane wave is already getting prepared by Abby, and this should just be the first tower. No teleport for Gariaru either to counteract this push, as Abby is not too keen on pushing this one, so...
Well, still an Arya... getting spotted out there by the wards, so perhaps sensing that BC knew what was coming there. by the way which Ray Farker was playing lane. Decided to pull the escape switch. They've still got a few more minutes to cash in that Herald while the plates are up for the fighting. We've got 4 plates left in this top tower, so not necessarily immediately in kill range, unless we can see Ray Farkey ejected from the top lane entirely.
So this might be reading into it a little bit too much, but I think we saw a little bit of disconnection there in communication and planning from DFM, because there was certainly an opportunity to just go and brute force the top lane tower. You had a 3v1 situation on the top lane, you had a stacked wave if ever cared to push it a little bit faster, and now this is riskier because Burning Core actually got the time to react to this. It's a 4v3 and tower. Gary Aru is here as well. Now his teleport is available too. So now it's much more risky for DFM. I really don't like this. I think Evie played this too selfishly. It looked to me like Evie said, nah, I want all these creeps, don't take them away from me, go for something else. But Burning Core might have just presented DFM with an opportunity to still make use of this one, because they completely abandoned the mid lane, so what? Wait, what?
Yeah, that's going to be the charge in. It will not be the full tower, but it's still a decent amount of change. But I'm kind of curious, this game does feel very strange. DFM, they seem to have total control of all, of where the plays are being made across the map, but they still not resulting in major leads. The gold lead is creeping up over time. The Herald's making a pretty big difference there. We are just a minute and change out from our second Drake. Perhaps DFM can find themselves a more concrete objective.
Yeah, looking on the other side from Burning Core's perspective, they traded early Dragon for Herald, and you expect to be a little bit behind in gold for maybe an earlier Dragon power spike, right? Or maybe even delaying the enemy Dragon power spike. So from that perspective, only being down 1,000 gold when we're already losing the top lane pretty heavily before the trade even occurred, pretty good. They're actually stabilizing this game, coming back into it. Still don't really know what they're trying to achieve with this composition. Gary Aru hasn't done anything on this early game focused assassin in the mid lane, so I want to see him do something, maybe poke out some opponents here and enable them to get another dragon. Trial coming up in 20 seconds, but so far, a very quiet game from both sides. 0 kills.
That's kind of crazy considering we've seen Gary Aru has been trading aggressively with Arya from the very start of the game. The Drake is starting up and it looks like DFM, they've pushed that bottom lane back. So once, rather than being down there for the dragon, is instead up in the top lane looking for a play there. And I don't know if they can manage it.
What is he doing?
I take it back. They're not making a play, they're counter jungling instead.
So they're giving up this dragon deliberately. The bot lane is under tower, so they're not even gaining anything in bot lane. I guess they gained 1 camp on top side for a whole dragon, even though they had the timer and they had the time to set up the dragon. So very, very sloppy play from Burning Core, in my opinion, here, giving DFM so much time to breathe, to set up everything in their favor from start to finish. And I really don't agree with their choices here. Gary Aru still trying to trade aggressively, and he's succeeding on our screen at least, but then every time we look back at it, the enemy melee champ is full HP again, because he has some charged up Q, some lifesteal here, some gore drinker there, even though he hasn't gone for the gore drinker. So very ineffective so far from the side of LB.
Let me posit something to you here. That's what I think might be going on your way. Is that for DFM, we're almost 15 minutes in. We haven't seen a kill, we haven't seen a tower. DFM are absolutely trying to change from what's been going on in their first 3 games of the split. They've, of course, lost every single one of them. Maybe what they're going for here is a slow and steady, inevitable win where there's no chance of being surprised. There's no chance of having a team fight go wrong because you're not taking really any risks.
Yeah, I think looking at the compositions makes sense to me. I think they could have definitely tried to go for 1 or 2 more aggressive calls here or there, but they don't have to. Now stopping the Dragon Snowball as well. They're in a very good position. 1 item finished for Utapon, 1 item finished for almost everyone on their team, apart from the ones that stopped off for something else instead of completing the first item. So in the end, DFM just trading objectives here and they're just getting everything on the map. They just got the Dragon. They got the mid priority, they got a lot of mid plates. We saw 640 gold to 0. Now they got another tower in the top lane, or the first tower I should say. So slowly but surely, they're growing the gold lead, and there's nothing Burning Core is doing to prevent this from happening, which is really the thing I'm criticizing and I'm unhappy to see, because they're just rolling over and dying. They're not doing anything. Please, move.
Well, I mean, yeah, if this is the risk-averse strategy from DFM, it's certainly working pretty darn well. Because you're right, Burning Core, they're playing like they don't have any idea where the holes in the strategy are to try and apply pressure. They're just watching themselves lose 2 towers in a row. The gold lead is creeping up so very, very slowly. But we're not seeing anything back from Burning Core. They're not making plays, they're not forcing anything. And now that gold lead is manifesting in a completed Sunderer up there for Evie at the top lane. We've got multiple other mythics completed. And Burning Core, they're officially below the power level of DFM right now if a fight does break out.
Yeah, and every time you look at the jungle matchup and you see Rumble on one side and Lee Sin on the other, and they're even in CS and both have 0-0-0, you know it's going very well for the Rumble, because that's not what Lee Sin is supposed to do. He should accelerate, especially Lee Sin LeBlanc. There was such a feared combo some years back. Think back to 2018, the perks against RNG days. Lee Sin LeBlanc, a lot of synergy there. Feared, and everyone was going down to that one. Lee Sin LeBlanc again, 2021. It's not looking too great. They haven't done anything.
So it's 4 mythics against 2 right now in favor of DFM. At least there are no more objectives to go for, apart from, of course, this tier 1 tower. Gario is at least able to hold ground, but if this goes according to what we've seen from DFM every other time, they'll bring their numbers to bear, take the tower away, and I guess when you're ahead like this, you can afford to trade tower for tower as long as you stayed in the lead.
Yeah, they really don't have to stress about anything right now. Even if they get out-rotated here or there, it's like, yeah, okay, we lost 500 of our gold lead. Unfortunate, but really, we are outscaling anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We're just going to keep on our vision control on the bot side, setting up for the next dragon that's going to come up in 1 minute, getting another turret here, so extending the vision line is going to be even easier with the minions crashing a little bit later on into the map, or a little bit further into the map, I should say. So it's really all looking great for DFM. Sadly, not the banger of a game that we wanted to see to close out, but maybe we get some nice team fights later on, because so far 18 minutes and 13 seconds, not a single kill. I thought we were watching LJL, not LCS, but apparently.
All right, I've decided,
we've gone
Joey,
too far.
We're going to change the narrative here. We're not going to say this game isn't entertaining because we don't have kills. We're going to take this opportunity to do what every color caster loves to do, and to figure out why is this working so well for DFM, and what can Burning Core be trying to do to stop this inexorable advance towards an end game that so far Burning Core seems to have lost all agency in.
So, in my opinion, they could do a whole lot. The sad thing is that they haven't tried anything, right? They gave up the dragon without a fight, even though they had the timing down. They had the Lee Sin level 11, so a lot of power early on. He was a little bit lower, but still a lot of power on this champion. Farmed well. We had an early boots completion from Gariaru, so a lot of penetration there as well. But now they've kind of lost that power spike. They need to get to 2 items on this LeBlanc to really have the burst damage to maybe threaten a kill on Steel. Maybe on Utapon, but he's pretty hard to catch, so you really need to look for Steel on his aggressive invades. He's once again the enemy jungle, so try to ward him out, try to get a little bit of vision in your own jungle, and then maybe try and attack Steel on his ventures into your jungle. I think that's the easiest way back, but now they've lost so much control, so much time in this game, it's going to be progressively harder to really strike back. So maybe it's already in the territory where you say, well, we have Ezreal. Ezreal is one of the strongest champions in the game. Let's just hope he can carry us.
I guess at least when you've lost those avatars, you don't have to worry about too much of DFM stealing any more towers as long as they stay near this Baron. Well, credit to Burning Core, it's only 2k gold behind, and they've actually got 2 towers themselves back in, so it's no small thing as the Baron fight is gearing up for Burning Core. They got once across the wall looking to scout out some vision. Gets a little bit more than they were hoping for, as you can see that DFM, they pretty much locked down that river vision entirely.
So now I actually want to see what DFM does to close out this game. They're not very far ahead, so it's not the super easy closeout we sometimes see we can just brute force. They actually have to think about what they're doing here. And I think we have to actually judge them on their side lane play. It wasn't the greatest last game. They actually threw the game through a side lane mishap, but this time around, Evi, super strong. The mid laner area in a decent position as well to just clear the waves. Beautiful can clear waves for ages as well, so I like this advance into the enemy jungle once again. This time it's top side, trying to play around the Baron objective. You can't really fool the enemy team at 21 minutes saying, we are going to start the Baron. It's a little bit too risky at this point still, so DFM needs to look for some other ways to punish the enemy team. You can see Proud, maybe the target here. The cloud rift is pretty helpful for him to just dip in and out of vision and try to see whatever he can spot there.
You see here that Burning Core will not be drawn in by the attempts from DFM to present a mystery box that Burning Core would be tempted to try and solve. As Steel trades with Proud. We still got Gary out on the side. Of course, yeah, Wallace LeBlanc has only got that one item and the boots completed. Not the big 2-item power split you were talking about before. They still can hit relatively hard against Evi, though. You can see that they don't want to take that trade. I guess, yeah, for Burning Core, they are getting that Ezreal, as you said, getting further going. The Manamune completed the Sunderer as well, so they are scaling up, and that goal lead isn't growing for DFM either.
Yeah. And this is, once again, we have to come back to this discussion. Why did it take so long for Evi to go into top lane? Why is he not pressuring further? He's such a safe champion. He has teleport, flash available, ult available. It's hard to kill him. Put some pressure on the top lane. Why is no one in bot lane? They left alone all the minions in the bot lane for 5 minutes maybe at this point. So now Arya is finally going back to the bot lane. He has been on 170 to 180 CS for the last 2, 3, maybe even 4 minutes. So very, very unhappy with the execution on the side lanes. And I might sound a little bit nagging here, but this is supposed to be the best team in the league. So we really have to judge them on these closing out routines where you just have to extend your gold lead through side lane play. And so far they've been looking pretty bad in that aspect.
So I guess we've got a chance, given the fact that this game is going to be played out apparently in the same way from DFM for the time being, though we've got a minute till the next Cloud Drake comes up. I've got to address, I guess, a larger sort of aspect of esports in general, which is a lot of time the teams which have done really well have gone for this kind of style, where it's like, you just don't make any mistakes at all, and you rely on the opponent just making 1 or 2 mistakes to say, we're a better fundamental team. If there's no, coin flips involved in this game, we are definitely going to win, no matter how many losses we've just suffered.
So I think there's a fundamental problem with this, with League of Legends. I'm not sure if we actually have the time, because there seems to be an upcoming fight in the river with Burning Core actually reconquering a little bit of control there. But yeah, with the changes to the game, this kind of playstyle leads to one opportunity that it didn't lead to before in League of Legends, where you might be able to get a lead. Maybe it's even 3 or 4k gold lead. Oh, Evi, he's caught out on the side.
Gary takes the same amount of damage as well, so both teams fall back. The Baron is up, the Drake is up as well, so that would be a second Drake in for Burning Core. True Shot Barrage is baited out early from Yuhi, so that will not be available for any kind of Baron fight. The Drake is started up by once. Burning Core don't want to go for the fight here, and there's no control ward on the Baron, so Burning Core know DFM are not forcing.
Yeah, and they're getting the dragon for free. Now DFM is forced to take the Baron because they just realized they gave up the dragon for free without any pressure from Burning Core. So now this Baron call is quite risky into LeBlanc. Shredded Mar. She now has prime opportunity to actually make her damage count. There she is.
The steal is good from Burning Core! And they get the Drake, they get the Baron at the same time. They have to give up Ray Farkey on the way out, so it's not completely clean. But Burning Core, they take a big step towards saying, we can do it as well. We can embarrass DFM in week 2, just the same as Axis did. The goal lead is almost gone. The Baron is here for Burning Core. They can get back a tower and make it dead even.
I want to go back to your point about the fundamentally being better players. Well, if you are, then most of the time it's probably going to be good. But you can't do this. You can't just lure the enemy into this very bad fight for you, because this is so risky. There's no guarantee for you to get this Baron. It's against LeBlanc, so she could have even popped off much, much more. Lee Sin executes Smite, and LeBlanc was in the backhand there as well. Lee Sin gets out again. I'm not really sure what Ray Farkey was doing. He just wanted some action, I guess. Good board. Understandable.
It's particularly galling, isn't it, for DFM to try and go for that when they're against, as you said, the Lee Sin, the jungler who's best able to punish that kind of situation, and they did nothing to stop once from just walking in and making it happen.
I think it's the prime example of the sunk cost fallacy in a League of Legends game, where you invested into top side, you abandoned the dragon, the enemy team actually just called you bluff and said, okay, you dance around Baron, we don't really believe you're going to go for Baron, so we are just going to take the dragon, and then you end up in a situation where, yeah, you lost the gamble, and then you just doubled down on the lost gamble, and that lost you the gamble even harder. So that's the sunk cost fallacy there for DFM. The gold is even again. Burning Core can't really siege too effectively with their Baron, so this is much more just a stalling Baron than anything else, getting more items on Gariaru, on Yuhi, trying to go for the late game team fights that still, in my opinion, are in favor of DFM. But in the ultra late game, you never know. There can always something funny can happen. Some one shot from Lee Sin from LeBlanc can just turn the game. So it's pretty risky to play for that for DFM.
Gariaru gonna play with that risk though. Keep pushing forwards as you looks to press the advantage. You can see right now the Baron power play will include the gold gain from the Baron itself. So actually a net negative at the moment.
It's not great, yeah.
For Burning Core as they lost out on the kill for Ray Farkey. They can get the tower here, that would be something, giving them more control in the middle of the map. They will manage it, so at least they didn't lose money in the whole deal, and if they can get that tiny amount of damage onto the top tower, they'll actually have a significant map advantage.
Yeah, they're one tower ahead with the mid lane outer and inner falling now, so much easier path to the dragon, to the Baron as well. So, I mean, the Dragon Soul is still pretty far off, and then it's only Cloud Soul, so probably not the way you want to play, or the big objective you hope for to carry you to victory. Maybe it's actually the Elder Dragon, but that's very far off, so I think we are probably in this for a while longer, because there's nothing really coming up for either team that's really going to push the envelope and really bring us to the enemy base. So I think we might have to buckle in and wait for a few more minutes.
So with Yuhi building up their inventory as well, as you said, for Burning Core, this is one of the angles they can play, is just waiting this one out. So now we've got the Frozen Heart in there, so 3 items on both of our bot lanes. Both of them have the stopwatch in case things go awry. We've even got a stopwatch in there for Proud on the Braum as well. It feels like Burning Core, that they're ready for that fight that we've been building up for the whole game. We're nearly 30 minutes in with only a single kill. Something's got to give.
Yeah. We need to be careful not to talk too monotonously, because I think our viewers are going to sleep soon if this happens. Oh man, this game is such a letdown. I'm sorry. Let's hope for some action.
No, it's not a letdown. We're seeing DFM trying a different style of play. This is what we need. It's apparently what they think they need is to play so risk averse they're barely playing League of Legends at all.
They really are.
The goal lead,
only barely.
the goal lead isn't there. The Cloud is going to come in. This is going to be the catalyst for a fight. We've got 2 teams. They're both ready. They've both got their ults. They've both got everything. Summoners available on both sides of the rift. This isn't ultimately, as you said, a terrifically important Drake by itself, but it brings our teams together for a fight. Arya takes a lot of poke early on. There's a true shot barrage across the team, takes most of Gang's health.
Oh.
But there is a brilliant solar flare, and the combo equalizer. It hits the turning point here for DFM. They get the members down while Arya has dropped. It's still the 4v4. There's a little bit of action there for you, Yoey. The fight is still going though. The Drake is still not taken. It's only 1 kill apiece.
The big prize, the second of 3 potential Cloud Drakes, is collected by Burning Core. Woo!
Yes!
They got it all. It's over now. This was the big win condition. No, of course not. The fight was absolutely useless, but in the end, it doesn't really do anything. Actually, I don't remember which podcast it was in, but someone talked to a pro player or a coach, I
Don't
believe.
talk about the podcast, talk about the fight!
I mean, there's a nice fight with especially Steel popping off here with the ultimate. Really nice positioning from Steel. Look at this gang also hitting a 2-man stun and a 3-man slow. But this follow up from Steel is really good. And it actually looks like DFM could wipe the floor with everyone here, but Abby is a little bit too far away from everyone to really get the resets going. So in the end, he only gets one of those thralls and can't really continue the fight. In the end, we end up with a 500 gold difference between the two teams. So nothing happened.
How did what the question I want to put out here is that was beautiful from DFM. They had the solar flare into the equalizer. That's a team-killing combination. How did they only get a single kill?
I think they were hesitant after the 0-3. I think DFM, if they are 3-1 here or 2-1, I think they probably go for the dive. I think they all jump in, they all go for the kills. Maybe they end up wiping the floor with the enemy team. But 0-3, 30 minutes in, you know, if you mess up this fight, the game is probably over. You're starting 0-4, so probably just a little bit of, as I said so many times already, too risk-averse, even in the fight. They just didn't want to commit. Kaiser didn't jump forward aggressively. Evie didn't go into the back line. Steel didn't follow up on his great ultimate. He actually stayed back and waited for this ultimate to evade, so in the end, not quite decisive enough, and this is risky again. It got stolen one time. They're not very fast. Utapon wasn't even here, and everyone from Burning Core is in the area, so we have another big fight.
True shot barrage will take a little away as Gang goes down to half health as the Baron is abandoned. So Yuhi going in pretty aggressively. Utapon maybe steps a bit too far forward. There's the equalizer. Good one to cut the fight up. We're seeing the stasis being used multiple times by DFM to draw the fight out. Yuhi drops themselves into the stopwatch, but they can't get out. This could be the fight that DFM were hoping for last time round because their health bars are almost gone. Gary Arrow is still going to be on the field, but recalling DFM, they do it. I didn't even believe what my eyes were seeing, but they pulled off the fight, and now they're going to get the Baron for it.
I think they finally found a fight that brought them far ahead in this game. 2k now with the Baron. This Baron should break the base at least, so bring them close to breaking the base. Dragons don't matter in this game. It's all about kills, and their superior positioning in this team fight finally brought them to a 4k gold lead. We finally saw these two team compositions interact at their fullest. So I think DFM is now looking at their first win of the whole season.
I don't know if we should call it quite that quickly. It's just the one fight, but it was one very good fight.
Yeah, and the follow-up here, the follow-up to Lockdown Yuhi is so well done. Steel actually concealing his positioning there with the blast cone coming over the wall after the start of the fight to really chase down the enemy AD carry. He's so slippery, but they still managed to kill him, and then the fight is just over. Everyone dropped to super low HP, but not quite low enough to die. So a little bit more burst from Gariaru, maybe one more ultimate W, maybe one more Luden's tick, and the fight goes entirely different ways. But it's not quite there. He's not accelerated enough on this LeBlanc. Doesn't have the damage, had to go for a utility item second, so in the end, it's all about this LeBlanc not being able to start the snowball earlier in this game.
We were talking about right back at the start of the game, the composition here for Burning Core, that they were trying to do a little bit of everything, but nothing particularly concentrated. Right now, it does feel a little bit like, you know, as they come into the fights, that they're getting, you know, bits of a game plan, but they're not being able to bring them together. Now with this power play, this one is going to be a net positive for DFM because Burning Core, they're not even actually here to defend this bottom inhibitor. They're actually falling back right now, but I don't think they can do anything to stop DFM from walking in, smashing down the tower, and taking the inhibitor away, though I say this and immediately I'm proven wrong.
I have to look for the hero play here. They're pushing DFM off the wave, but DFM can just regroup and use the next one. They fall to the last game with this Baron push. They were in control, 5k ahead, and then overstepped their welcome in the mid lane, so now they need to be careful. They need to wait for the enemy team to show, and then back off if the enemy team comes to collapse on them. This is exactly what they just did, so well played. A little bit sad that Arya didn't really succeed in pushing in the other lane, so of course you actually want to get something with the Baron buff. In the end, they got some chip damage on the bot tower, and the dragon, nice, but it's a good foundation, I'd say.
It keeps Burning Core at least from getting a hold of the clouds themselves. But you can see,
Are we
as
looking at a
both
base
teams
race?
diverge, this is not a base race you want to take when you don't on a team which doesn't have Baron buff. Burning Core caught out again. DFM, they've been playing the map all game long, and this time they're going to be rewarded one step ahead of Burning Core again, and this time they get the concrete reward of the inhibitor.
Even though Asriel claims he doesn't need a map, maybe he needed one here, because I have no idea what Burning Core just did there. They walked 5 men into the mid lane when the enemy team was a dragon and already pushing the next wave in bot lane. Huh? Where's the plan here? You already got the mid lane in a tower. Did you want to push for the mid lane inhibitor tower?
Well, it feels like all game long. I mean, this is what Burning Core have been doing. They've been trying to match styles with DFM, who are obviously very proficient with their meta, with their macro play, with playing around the map and trying to stay one step ahead. Burning Core, instead of trying to make their own style up, you can see Gary Arrow has been teasing us with the possibility of a LeBlanc deletion, but they haven't even got a single kill 36 minutes in, and that just seems totally unacceptable.
Yeah, and there's just no damage on this LeBlanc. Look at his items. He has Eludens and Penetration Boots. Nice, that's decent. But then Morellos, which is really not the item you want to go for, is second on this LeBlanc. And then Zhonya is built up next. It's a utility item for LeBlanc. She needs to be the main carry. She needs to chunk people with huge amounts of burst. She's not here to survive the fight with the Zhonyas. So really not happy with her item choice. I think you have to go either for more penetration or the Rabadons, or maybe even something like, I don't know what you go for LeBlanc, but just more damage. And this is really not the way to go. Zhonya is not a very efficient item if you look for more damage. It's much more about the utility. Now all the damage, all the X, and the Yuhi basket, and that's daunting prospect, because historically Yuhi has been a very bad player, very bad ADC. He was very good in week 1, so maybe he can continue his reign here and prove to everyone that he's a worthy ADC on the strongest champ, or the strongest ADC at least on the patch.
Well, the addendum to that would be that, if Yuhi is going to be the ultimate answer for Burning Core, usually Ray Farkey is going to be the one who's going to be, the other carry on the squad, but they have been invisible on the Wukong so far in this game, as DFM one step ahead. Again, they get themselves tower number 6, and they give up literally nothing in return as the super minions are pushing down the bottom lane. Burning Core, they can't afford to all stay up here fighting, or they're going to start losing Nexus towers.
Yeah, and Burning Core's timing is really bad. They could have really tried to push out the bot lane here, because the Baron isn't even there. It's still 40 seconds out, so use your time now, invest maybe even someone who can clear the waves better than just LeBlanc into the bot lane, push it up to the enemy tower, so even if there are super minions coming in, they are not going to concern you for the next minute or two, so you actually have the time to go into the topside river and contest the Baron, because now they're pressed for time. Look at the super minion wave coming in. LeBlanc is really struggling to clear that one. Now Wukong is going to go there, having to clear this minion wave, so it's just on DFM to dance around the Baron, force them to react, and then just make use of their bot lane inhibitor. The really disconnected map movement from Burning Core in this game. It's showing more and more, and they're losing more and more of it.
One thing I wanted to touch on before we get into this next Baron fight is you look at the inventories, of course, they're bulging for both teams, but for DFM, they are ahead right now, and they've got a full setup for Utapon on the Kaiser. They have got all of the items they're ever going to get, as Gang almost gets caught. Once again, the chains are flashed away from True Shot Barrage, doesn't find anything, but it does mean that Gang is left without a flash and the possibility of a truly epic engage.
And Ray Farkey has no teleport now, so you can't answer the bot lane wave. That's perfect for DFM. They trade that flash against teleport every single time. That's so good for them. Because look at the bot lane now. All the minions streaming into the base. Burning Core on timer. They have to respond to this one. They have no TPs available. They need to make a play, and this play is going to be rushed. It's not going to be set up well. DFM can always just disengage and wait for the bot lane to do the job for them. They don't even have to concern themselves with anything here. You can see Burning Core now forced to go back. The minions are going to hit this tower, and immediately DFM should... the second someone shows there to defend the tower, they should immediately run at Baron and force the enemy team to make a bad decision.
True Shot Barrage goes across. I mean, this feels entirely on brand for DFM in this game. they can play the no-risk strategy. If they can get the super minions to do the job for them, then why not? They ultimately do give up on the Baron, though, so while the Nexus Tower did take a little bit of clobbering, it wasn't as definitive of a strategic win as it could have been.
Yeah, good chunk. It was a little unfortunate that the Assault actually helped the minions clear out the super minions there, so they thought they would get a little bit more from this push, but in the end, it's only chunk damage on the core tower there, so it's not really what DFM was looking for. Now the inhibitor is back up, so the next 2 minutes are going to be much easier to defend for Burning Core. They can wait for their Soul Lane STP to be back available, and then they have the tools to defend against this 4-1 strategy coming out of DFM, or 5-0-1, with the 1 being the super minions. And now Burning Core suddenly with better positioning on the dragon.
It's time for the Cloud Soul to be up for grabs. Baron is there as well, but Trisha Barrage has been burned. For Burning Core, they have to make their choice here. Last time they had their cake and ate it as well. So they got both the Drake and the Baron. This time around, it looks like they're not going to contest. Instead, are they going to run it down mid and try and open an inhibitor?
So they decided to just trade Soul for Baron. I think DFM actually made the good choice because only Cloud Soul, the enemy team doesn't really profit too much from Cloud Soul. It's nice on Wukong. It's certainly good to have on all the champions, but it's not going to be a win condition there. So the Baron should give you much more and actually break the base again. You already have an open inhibitor in bot lane. Now if you get another inhibitor open in mid lane, that should really bring you close to the enemy nexus and put a close to this first ever victory in this split.
Well, again, the bells are tolling here for DFM. They seem to have what they need, though the minions are getting cleared out here. Once in a little bit of danger here, but should be able to get themselves out of trouble, as only Lee Sin can do at will. The inhibitor is open in the bottom lane, so you don't even need minions to walk in and take it if you feel like your team is strong enough.
I actually hate this from DFM. I think you should definitely try to prioritize mid lane here, because you can always take the bot inhibitor. You don't need Baron for that one. Just take the mid lane inhibitor where you actually need the Baron, because if you just take the bot lane inhibitor here with this Baron, that's not going to go a long way to winning the game. One inhibitor at 40 minutes is very easy to defend, so I would definitely put more priority on the mid lane inhibitor turret. If you break that one, 2 inhibitors are open, then you can push for 2 inhibitors, and then it's going to be very hard to defend against that one. So, want to see DFM branch out a little bit more and try to go for 2 inhibitors instead of just the one safe call here, because that's not going to advance their chances much.
Oh, well, instead of going for the 1 inhibitor, it looks like they may end up with no inhibitors at all, despite, only ending up with 500 golds worth of advancement, getting that 1 tower for moving further forward. Yuhi will get caught there, but escapes out immediately, has the shield from a locket as well, so the equalizer is gone, and with it, a ton of the power of the DFM team to get that massive teamfight win that they've been looking for.
Are you serious? DFM, come on, you have Baron for the 2nd time. Push inhibitors, please. What are you doing with your time? Now, finally, Evie is actually going to the top lane. They could have used this wave that has been stacking in the top lane for such a long time now.
Oh, God. It was almost it wasn't quite a face check, but I guess it was a scrying check, as we've got another chance for an inhibitor. We'll see if DFM can pull it off this time round. They have got the equalizer back up. It's got a very short cooldown at this point, so it could force something. We've got the Baron and Empowered minions in the bottom lane. It looks like Burning Core might have overcommitted to the top. And yeah, Arya gets the tower. Burning Core outmaneuvered again.
Finally. It's so hard for DFM to siege because they have no range whatsoever. The highest range champion is a 525 range Kai'Sa, so that's why we see so many struggles for their side to actually connect with the towers and get those down. But now 2 inhibitor towers down, and there's the fight. Arya in there.
Equalizer comes in again. Look at the health bars of Burning Core. They are just disappearing. This is the play they were looking for from before. We've got the resurrection coming in from Utapon. It doesn't look like Burning Core are strong enough right now, as Ray Farkey has been shut out of this game entirely. The flash forward from Steel, but it's just a clone. Burning Core, though, we are 44 minutes into this game. If this had been earlier, this wouldn't have managed it, but DFM, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't fun, but it was a win. DFM's lost streaks finally over.
They close out this very dire situation with a win that was super important for the team. They probably never want to look back at this game. They all know what happened in this game. They didn't play well, but they ended up with the W. That's the most important part, especially in their situation. Now, one more week to look back at all this mess, all the side lanes, all the ways they were pushed into nothing and lost somewhere in the swords. So now it's time for Kazu to get out the belt, show them where they would have had to go to actually win this game in time. Yeah, I'm not very happy with their performance, but at least they got the game victory, and that's the most important part. There's more time for them to get better. Now it's actually the most. They just have to get to the players first, and then there's best of 5 time. They can come back and get better over time, like they did last year in summer.
I can't believe at the end of that 45-minute game, we had 8 kills.
Yeah,
8
it's
kills
ridiculous.
total. And Burning Core had one of them. One whole kill when you have a Lee Sin. You have a Wukong who didn't do anything. You have a LeBlanc who, as you said, was built to not die. And I mean, I guess they mostly didn't do that. They died once the whole game, but they sure as heck didn't manage to accomplish anything else. And a Yuhi who'd been scaling up all game long, actually getting
He's still
outpaced by
scaling, by
Yusupon.
the way. He's still scaling.
Yeah,
Just
didn't even
wait for
get to
him.
the end.
Just 20 more minutes, then we're going to get there.
All right, guys, we're going to take a short break before we come back for our final little analyst desk of the day. We're outraged, but DFM, however they get the win, it is a win nonetheless. The LJL unofficial broadcast will return for our final analyst desk of the weekend just in a couple of minutes' time. Welcome back, one and all, for our final thoughts on today. It's been quite the wild ride where we lived in a world just for a few moments where we thought that maybe DFM could exit week 2 with nary a single win to their name. They got their one. Maybe it wasn't the win that we'd hoped for. Maybe it wasn't as crisp. Maybe it took a lot longer than we would have expected. 45 minutes all told, but Destination FocusMe, they are now not the worst team in the league. Yes.
Actually, our 3 games we casted, averaged out quite nicely. We're absolutely crazy. Off the charts game in game 1, where no one had any clue what was happening and everyone killed themselves all the time. The second game was a little bit more measured with the expected amount of kills, and the third game was the complete opposite of game 1. No one tried to do anything. Everyone was scared for their lives. We ended with 8 kills. So if you average out game 1, game 3, we actually get some very nice games. You just have to, I guess, have 2 screens and watch them at the same time to not get
Oh boy. I'm with you on this. Like, I really hope this isn't the new approach from Detention FocusMe to say,
Oh
like,
yes, please no.
okay, we can't win if we play regular League of Legends. We're just gonna play the most stoic League of Legends possible. We're gonna really slowly grind out the opposition until they give up because they just lose focus because they're playing a game where they don't get to team fight, they don't get to do anything at all, and then eventually they'll lose. I don't want to be in that future as much as I didn't want to be in the Detention FocusMe 0-4 future either.
I'm actually not against so-called slow League of Legends, where you don't go for kills, where you choke the enemy team out. If it's done well, it's actually one of the highest level League of Legends that you can look for. Teams like Rogue come to mind. Teams like even Down last split, right? A lot of their games were actually this style of play, where you didn't really go for many kills or dives, maybe in the early game 1 or 2 times, but then just extend vision lines, go for an objective here, force the enemy team to react, go for the other side of the map. If it's well executed, you can really accelerate the game super quickly, even without kills. But what DFM just did there was trying to do that, but missing the important steps and the pressure on the other side. So the enemy team just said, well, we could go there, but we can also just not do that. So go ahead. And nothing ever happened. So DFM, if they want to play for that style, just watch some some down one wards from spring, from summer last year, maybe some rogue wards here and there. There's probably a good maybe a JDG comes to mind from LPL, and try to do that style a little bit better because the pressure wasn't there. They need more pressure on other sides.
All right, so where we are at the end of week 2 is Rascal Jester up at the top, undefeated in the DFM slot with 4-0, with V3 just behind them with 3-1. Axis in 3rd place, tied with
Third
Crest Gaming.
place.
Yeah, tied with Crest and the Hawks 2-2. And as was pointed out by our producer, the 3 worst teams in the league. Now Burning Core, Detention FocusMe, and Sengoku Gaming for some reason. This is a strange new world we have entered, and I'm not sure that I like it.
It's exciting, at least. A little bit of shake-up in the league. Of course, it's very early on still, right? We still have a way to go, with 5 more weeks to come, I believe, if my math is correct. So a lot can still happen. DFM can still probably make it up there. Maybe not to first place. First place already looking very far away. But maybe to 2nd or 3rd place, and that's still good enough to win the title later on. What a great start from the top teams, and yeah, maybe we have a new, new king and Rascal Jester. Who knows?
Oh my gosh. So looking forward to next week. So we are going to be having just, I believe, the 1 day of play on the 3rd of July, where it's going to be banging in as many games as possible. We'll be seeing Rascal Jester there going up against the Hawks and against Crest Gaming, and for V3 against Sengoku and Burning Core themselves. It's the same, we're in a world where any team can potentially get a win over a top team, so you don't want to miss it at all. But for now, that's all we've got time for. It has been quite the wild ride, of course. Thank you to everyone involved in the broadcast production and the casting today. It has been one hell of a journey. But for now, we'll have to say good night. We'll see you next Saturday on the LJL official, unofficially official, officially unofficial, and every combination in between. We'll see you guys again soon.